I got invited to do this. They told me that they wanted something different. They asked me to do like to deliver with you guys like a personal experience that changed my life, or something that you cannot basically read on books or on coaching courses, something different. So I thought about, okay, let's try with my experience with Libya. I was with Libya in the last African Cup of Nations to try to qualify for the World Cup, and it was a very interesting experience. So that is what basically I'm going to try to share with you guys, and then hopefully it will be interesting for you. So here we have the team, and I will go about the contest of these and objectives that we have for the competition, how the preparation went, the staff that we had, the players, the training program. I have no problem to share with you that, and then how the competition went for us, and a post analysis that I can share with you after what happened over there. So I don't know if you know, but Libya is there. It's, as you can see, it's quite a big country, but most of the country is a desert. So there is four main cities, and if you see the population, it's not really big. So the country is not a country with huge population. It's about 3 million people, or more 4 million people maximum in total, and so it's the number of players is also limited. Then, if we are talking about futsal, as you can see here, let me do this. So in 2000, they finished third, and then they organized in 2008 the African Cup of Nations, and they won it. So they have a quite good tradition in futsal. They participated, as you can see here, in 2 World Cups. So the country, we can say that it's a strong country in futsal. And when we had this competition, the top three teams from the competition, they qualify for the World Cup from Africa. So there is three spots from Africa that qualify to the World Cup. So that was actually one of the objectives for us. But I don't know if you know, but this is the contest that we had. So Libya is in a civil war, and that is super important in our preparation, basically. So what you are going to see now, okay, we were in the middle of the preparation, and I don't know if you know about this, but this is what happened the 4th of January. It was a military academy, and they did an airstrike, and 42 people basically died. So we were in the middle of the preparation when this happened. Actually, we were traveling when this happened. Okay, so this is the contest that we had when we took the job. Okay, so the objective for the Libya FA, for the federation, the objective was to win the total African Futsal Cup of Nations. So that was their objective. Then analyzing the reality, and if you check here the ranking, there is 2 teams, Morocco and Egypt, that they are way ahead of the other ones. So if we are realistic and then we analyze everything in perspective, for us as a staff, the objective was to finish in the top 3 to basically qualify for the World Cup. That was the real objective. Morocco is actually number 1. Is the current champion in Africa, and they have fully professional players playing in first division in Italy, in France, and in Spain. And then Egypt, they finished in the top 8 in the previous World Cup, and 10 players from that roster or from that squad, they were all still playing for Egypt. So realistically, the objective was to finish in the top 3. And the preparation that we had, it was 2 months, nothing less and nothing more. December and January. Super important, this, okay? And the preparation was not in Libya. So because of the civil war, the preparation could not be in Libya. So all the preparation happened in Tunisia, in Morocco, and Bahrain, okay? We have 4 friendly games, 2 in Morocco against clubs, and then we travel to Bahrain to play the national team over there. The roster, we had 3 goalkeepers and 13 players, so 16, and we had to pick 14. So the federation gave us 16 players to pick 14 from those. And then the head coach, Julio Fernandez, is a Spanish guy, and he's the guy who basically brought me with him. So it was him and me, Spanish. All the other ones, every other member of the staff, they were Libyans. And the competition, this is super important too, the competition happened in Layun, which is, I don't know if you know, Layun is in the Western Sahara, and there is a political conflict with Morocco. And this is also quite important because had some consequences. So that is the staff member, and as you can see, I speak English, and then Julio speaks a bit of English, and the physio speaks a bit of English, but everybody else, they only speak Arabic. So we have Salah, which is this guy here, that he has a very good Spanish, and he was our interpreter. So as you can imagine, okay, we have an interpreter, but there is always a communication problem there, or it's more challenging. So this is one thing that you should also need to understand. Then the players. So we have here the players. As I told you, we had 16 players during the training camp. We have 3 goalkeepers, and Fata is the goalkeeper number 1 by far. However, he had a red card from the previous round, so we knew that for the first game in the African Cup of Nations, he was banned. He couldn't play. So that means that we have to bring the 3 goalkeepers to the tournament. Ahmed is a kid here that is half Libyan, half Moroccan, and because of that, is not really integrated into the team. I think he will be, and I think he's the future, but he was not really integrated. So it was almost the right decision to take him off. So he didn't travel to the main competition. Then we had Rida, that is almost in the last years of his career. So actually, Julio and me as coaches, we didn't really had the options to pick players. The team selected by itself, basically. The 14 players that travel to Morocco to the competition. Then, and this is here in December when we met. So the first thing is we met here to sign the contracts, and everything was in Tunisia because, you know, the situation in Libya. Then the players, they travel from Libya to Tunisia the day after, and we met them. And then the day after, on the 11th of December, we went to Morocco. We went to Morocco, and we already had problems with the visas. So it was a super, you know, long journey, and then the airports checking everything. So we already had problems there. We traveled to Casablanca, and from Casablanca to a city called Kenitra. However, on the 14th, we had to change, and you will see later on the map, from Kenitra, we travel to Tangier in the very north of Morocco because the conditions in Kenitra, they were not the best ones. Also, until that day, because of the visa problems, we couldn't have our interpreter. So all these days, we didn't have interpreter, and there is basically no English at all there. So the communication was like super broken, and we already practiced 3 days, okay? Then, as you can see, we had our friendly game here that the federation agreed, and another friendly game here that the federation agreed just a week into the job, and we keep practicing until the 23rd. On the 24th, on Christmas Day, we left. We left Morocco, so the players, they traveled back to Libya, and Julio and myself, we traveled back to Spain, basically for the Christmas period. We gave some days off to the players, but at the same time, because most of the players, they are from 2-3 cities that I mentioned before, we gave them some programs, and the staff members work in groups of 4 or 5 players during some of those days during the Christmas period, because they don't celebrate Christmas at all. Then you can see this is the court that when we went in Kenitra, and you see the corner, this is the corner. So that is one of the reasons, because we moved from Kenitra to Tangier. That is like 4 or 5 hours on the bus, because the conditions, they were not good. So here you have Morocco, and you can see, so we travel from Tunisia into Casablanca, then we went to Kenitra, we stayed 3 days, then we traveled to Tangier. But then, if you check, the competition is at the very, very south, here, at the very, very south, okay? So we have been traveling a lot already, and only in our preparation. Then we on the 1st of January we were traveling, so I traveled from Madrid, and then we arrived to Tunisia on the 2nd, and the plan was to train 4 days in January in Tunisia and then travel to Bahrain. At the end, talking to the federation, we changed, and the Sunday we traveled that Sunday to Bahrain, so that we had a bit of more time there to prepare, basically for the games, and some time to rest. From Tunisia, we traveled to United Arab Emirates, and then from there to Bahrain. But we arrived to United Emirates Arabs at 11 p.m. and the next flight was at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that is 9 hours overnight waiting at the airport. Just 24 hours basically before a game, we were waiting on an airport 9 hours overnight. We already also had problems with the visas, and one player couldn't travel on the 5th. That player had to travel on the 6th, but with the same itinerary that we had. So that player almost missed that game. Well, he arrived, but he played very little because he has been traveling and now you are thinking, yeah, but why the problems with the visa? So I will explain later, okay? We played those 2 games, and then we came back for a training camp. We left Bahrain and we went back to Tunisia. We stayed in Tunisia training there, and then on the 21st of January, we traveled from Tunisia to Morocco, or to the Western Sahara, where the competition was going to take place. For our first game on the 28th, we played Morocco on the 28th, we played Mauritius on the 30th. In training camps, basically we had 49 sessions, and then in Morocco, we had the 3rd game against Guinea, and then semifinals and potentially the final, or the 3rd and 4th position game. In Morocco, we did 14 training sessions. So in total, we have 49 plus 14 plus the 4 friendly games that we had. That was basically the preparation that we had for the tournament. The friendly games, we play against a regional selection. We won 5-4. Then we play against the North Maghreb regional selection 5-3, and then we play in Bahrain, the 2 games, it was 1-1 and 2-3. So as you see, all the games, they have been very, very, very tight games. And basically here you can see Africa, and you can see that those blue things are the 3 main cities, Misrata, Tripoli, and Benghazi from Libya, where most of our players, they came from there. We have Tunisia here, and then so we always met the players here, which is the capital, but then the trainings sessions, they were here in Monastir. Then we have Tangier here, we have Casablanca, that all the flights, they had to go from here to Casablanca, and then we have Layun here. And in between we have here Bahrain. So as you can see, in just 2 months of preparation, it was a lot of traveling, that have a lot of time on airports, a lot of time differences change. So something that if we analyze now, I don't think is the best to prepare a team. Then the competition, as I mentioned before, it was in Layun, in the Western Sahara. And there is a political conflict over there since Spain left the Sahara in 1975. And there is kind of a war also, and before, so the competition was going to be this one. Okay, I don't know if you picked before, but I mentioned that we play Mauritius. But if you see the group A, is Morocco, Libya, Equatorial Guinea, and South Africa. The problem is some countries that you can see here, some countries support Morocco in being basically the owner of the Western Sahara. Other countries, they don't support that, and then they maintains good relationship or diplomatic relationship with the Sahrawi Republic. So with that in mind, the competition was behind doors. So the whole competition, we had public, we had people attending the games. Every game, I think it was 1,000 people over there, but nobody could buy tickets. So those people, basically, they were giving the tickets, and they knew who was coming. Nobody from outside was going to the competition. So my family traveled, and it was very difficult for them to get passes, because they check everything, they check background. So basically it was like a private competition, which I don't think is good for futsal, because you are not developing anything, no kids from the town into the hall. And more important, on the because South Africa as a country support the Sahrawi Republic and not the Morocco government, on the 15th of January, South Africa was forced to withdraw the competition, and they had to put just 3 weeks before the competition started, they had to put Mauritius in our group rather than South Africa. Okay. So our first game, it was against Morocco, top team. We lost 0-3. It was 0-1 at halftime, but nothing that, to be honest, I think we played very well. They were better than us, so it's something that we expected. Then the second game was against Mauritius, but just when we are leaving the hotel, so 1 hour 30 minutes, 1 hour 45 minutes before kickoff, we were told that Mauritius was forced, after playing, they played the first game. After playing the first game, Mauritius was forced to withdraw the competition because of this political relationship. So the game was cancelled, and we were given a 3-0 win without even playing. We had to go to the facility. We had to do even the warm-up, everything for the television, but we knew that we were not going to play, like just 1 hour 15 minutes before the game. Everything was confirmed. So then we had to play Equatorial Guinea, like in the last game of the group, as we expected. That was going to be where we qualify or we don't qualify for the next round. And the game was very tight, and at the end we won 2-1. So we qualify as second in the group. Everything as we planned, basically. We planned Morocco is going to win the group, Libya will finish second, and then in the other group, Angola will finish second, and Egypt will win the other group. So then in the semi-final, because the top two teams from each group qualify, in the semi-final, we expected to play Egypt, and in the other semi-final, before even the competition, we expected to be Angola, Morocco. So everything so far came to plan. So we have here the semi-finals, and we have to play basically Egypt on the semi-final. It was very tight game. It was 1-1 at halftime, but at the end we lost 2-5. So we lost 2-5, which means we are not out of the World Cup, because remember, the top three teams, they qualify. So we have one more game to play. We have to play one game versus the loser from the other semi-final. And of course, Angola lost. So Morocco qualified to play Egypt in the final. And then we had to play on the same day, just before, the third and fourth position game between Libya and Angola. Of course, the political relationship also between Egypt and Libya is not really great. So after this loss, the whole federation came to the hotel basically to talk to the manager, to talk to Julio, to talk to the players, to put some pressure there. So something that, of course, now you can see that it's not ideal, but this is the thing that you have to deal with. So we are getting ready for the third and fourth position. That is what Julio and I expected, and that was basically we were in the position that we wanted to be. The day that we had the third and fourth position game, also the president of the federation came to talk to the players after our scouting meeting to also put some pressure on the players and saying that the whole country is behind them and blah 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 blah. And then we played the game and we lost. It was 1-0 at halftime, and then we put the flying goalkeeper and we lost 0-2. So basically we are out of the World Cup. Angola qualified, and it was tough, and it was of course a disaster. We have to admit that. If then we analyze everything, and if we do two analyses, one about futsal and the other one about basically the federation itself, okay, the organization aspects, we need better courts, better facilities, better equipment, better travel arrangements and itineraries. But of course, it's very difficult to organize all this when you are abroad for 2 months. So you are not in your country. You are not in your headquarters like Morocco. They have been training in the federation headquarters for 3 months. When basically you are traveling, you have to carry your equipment. That is one. Then the second one, every time that you have to organize something, it needs to be through the federation, but the federation is in Tripoli, so you have to contact them. And because of the war, it was so many times that in Tripoli at the federation building they had power outages. So they lost electricity. That means that there is no computers, there is no internet, there is nothing. So maybe you are asking to change a flight, and to change the flight, you spend 2 days change the flight, and then it's too late or it's too expensive, or so, because that is the situation that there is back in the country. Okay, then of course we need somebody that, as you saw, there is no secretary, or there was not a person dealing with all the visas and all the CAF procedures and registration. So it was a lot of admin, a lot of work admin that we had to do as coaches also there, because we didn't have that support because of the situation in the country. We are traveling abroad and we are traveling on those conditions, but we had very, very limited options to basically do the camp. So we try through contacts, we try to do camps in Spain with the federation. I try to do contacts in camps with contacts in Barcelona. Julio tried to do the training camps in Italy, but there is one huge problem. Most of those governments, they don't issue visas to Libyan people. So we couldn't travel because the players, they couldn't get the visas, because those governments are afraid that the players, after they are in Spain, in Italy, in UK, because of the situation in the country, they stay. So basically, at the end, the whole preparation, Morocco, Tunisia, and Bahrain, we went there because those countries basically gave us the visas to go there. It's not because we decided to go there, it's because that was the options that basically we had. Then for me, there is one key aspect that for the players it was difficult, okay, and it's this. They spent almost 2 months away from home with the families back in the country with a war. So imagine that you have your wife and you have your kids in a war, and you are 2 months away from. So I think that was too much. That was too much to take for the players. And at the end of that, period, some of the players, we had some problems with them. So our goalkeeper coach, for example, when we were going to travel to Bahrain, the goalkeeper coach couldn't travel. The goalkeeper coach had to come back to Libya because basically the war was getting close to his house. So he came back to Libya basically to find another house for his wife and his daughters. He spent a week and then he came back. After that situation, he came back with the team. So in those circumstances, I really think that we needed the support of a team psychologist that, of course, we didn't have. And then in the competition, when we were basically in the last 3 games of the competition, so Equatorial Guinea, Egypt, and Angola, one of the main players, the team captain, basically had a personal situation, that a family member was killed in Libya, and the guy is in the middle of the competition thinking about what happened in Libya, and also he needs to compete. So I really think that a psychologist was needed, and of course we didn't have that support. And then also a team doctor was needed. We didn't have a team doctor. We had a physiotherapist. We had injuries, and every time that we had an injury, we had to take the player to clinics. So the Libya Federation, they have partnerships or agreements with several clinics in Morocco or in Tunisia. So we had to take the injured players to the clinics in Tunisia or Morocco. But it's not the same as having a team doctor with you in the hotel or a team doctor with you in the team 24 hours. it's not the same. So we had this kind, in my opinion, organizational deficits. And then if we go into futsal, of course, and we need a longer preparation. You cannot prepare properly a national team to compete for a place on the World Cup just with 2 months. And before that, they have not been doing anything together for 4 years, because the last one, it was the previous African Cup of Nations in South Africa in 2016. Then, of course, they need a futsal league. They need regional centers of excellence in the country. But I think that is very obvious. When you are in the middle of a war, the less to think is about a futsal program. Something that is very interesting is also we would like to have more players to choose from, but to choose the players, you have to go to the country, and we couldn't go to the country. So the squad was very limited, and I think a pool of players or a deeper group of players could be beneficial, and younger ones, because we had players that they are almost, so last year was the last chance to participate in a World Cup for them. So we have players that there is no really future now into the program. If we have a longer period, of course, we need to play more friendly games because we didn't have enough, but at the same time, we didn't have time. And then purely about playing, we had a problem scoring goals. We had a really problem scoring goals during the competition. We only scored 4 goals, and out of those 4 goals, we didn't score a single goal in open play. As you can see here, we scored 1 corner set piece, 1 free kick set piece. We scored 1 10 meters penalty at the very end of a game with 5 seconds to go. So, and then we scored 1 goal when we were defending power play, and we stole the ball and we scored into an empty net without even a goalkeeper. So we had a problem scoring goals, and we knew that, but we couldn't fix it as coaches. And that is basically, in my opinion, what limited our chances to basically to qualify. And then just to finish before the questions, this is the group of players. It was a fantastic group of players. I didn't want to. The situation in the country back there, I think now 1 year after, has improved a lot, but it was a civil war. Okay, so I didn't mention that before, but it was a civil war, and because it was a civil war, basically it was Libyan fighting versus Libyan, and of course in the team we had very good group of players, unbelievable. I love them all. I still have contacts with them, but we had players that they are supporting one side, and we have players that they are supporting the other side. So this is something very interesting, and honestly, I know that because the Salah, the interpreter, told us, and then after 2 months, oh, this guy is supporting this side, this guy is supporting the other one. But we never could guess anything during our period together. So when everybody knew, but everybody worked together, it was no conflicts between them. It was one group. Everybody was super close. So the team was together. That was amazing, and also we felt that we had a lot of support back from the country and to every single country that we traveled. So when we were in Morocco, when we were in Tunisia, when we were in Bahrain, every single one was supporting us. Honestly, that was like, it was something super special to feel how everybody is supporting us and how everybody was supporting these kids, because they knew what was going on back in the country, and they knew how much they were suffering, because it was, you know, it was 2 months staying away from your families when the situation back there is not great. So, you know, if you have any question, I am now happy to help you and to answer. And if you want to contact me or ask me anything privately because you feel that way, here you have my contact details. So now and open to any question.